it is the Honeydew Carpenter and the always beautiful Mrs. Honeydew Carpenter. It looks like we're a little backlit.
We kind of are a little backlit. We
Um,
decided to try and like do it outside and see how it worked.
right. We have our little tulip flower garden that our boys planted back behind us. And of course, the view of the valley and the mountains, but it's,
Hopefully you guys can see it some.
yeah. But it is awesome. We are just so grateful and so thankful. It's springtime, and I really want you guys to start thinking about our Aircrete workshops. And we're gonna start putting the Aircrete in the walls of our house and whatnot, and then also just start thinking about all the other dynamics of being up on a homestead, because we've been up here putting up infrastructure for almost 2 years. There was no roads cut in, there was no anything, no ponds, no springs. We had to develop all of that. And so if there's, people out there who, I remember when we first did our Kickstarter for the rocket mass heater. I wrote this little poem as a commercial, I guess, for it, and it was all about, hey, what could you do with this? What could your imagination do? And basically, this is Melanie and I's imagination, building this homestead and building our cabin and doing it using Aircrete. I initially discovered Aircrete as a medium as a energy containment apparatus for the stove. And when I got into it and started making some bricks, it just enamored me so much that I ended up building a building, and and then it kind of morphed into, a lot of people were like, well, maybe we don't want to build a whole building and start from scratch, but we already have a building or a carport or a basement that's unfinished, and we want to put Aircrete into it. And so that's why we decided to build our house the way we did, and it's just basically a shell with a
And eventually we will put Aircrete in it.
yeah.
We're actually planning on doing it this summer and having a class. We haven't exactly narrowed down the date yet, but we are thinking the end of June. So if you guys are interested.
Before school gets started and whatnot, for people who have kids and whatnot.
Yeah, so we have gotten a couple people that are interested that sent us some emails. So if you guys are interested, send us an email to honeydewcarpenter1@gmail.com.
Right. And we have this whole past several weeks, we've been working on more infrastructure, getting some hydrants up and stuff in grassy places where people could pitch tents and just come and stay on the property if they wanted to.
Are you wanting them to stay in the orchard?
Huh? Well, no, just up there. I mean, by the hydrant, you need water.
Okay.
And I mean, they could stay in the orchard. It's just a beautiful grassy area, and it's got a beautiful view from it.
Right. Ken Nelson has liked, subscribed, and shared. Jim Allen says, ditto. Thank you guys for doing that. That's amazing. Red Rider says, good morning from the Democrat-possessed state of Michigan. Jim Allen says, is that worse than my California?
Right. It's kind of funny. Melanie and I used to visit Portland a lot over the past decade or so. And it's a beautiful drive to go down along the Columbia River and into Portland. It's such a beautiful place and a beautiful city, but we always used to call it the the Socialist Republic of Portland or something, because
Not to offend anyone, though. Jim Allen says, probably shouldn't pursue this line. Darwin seems to stay away from politics. William says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, William. McGate Farm says, good morning, y'all. Jim Allen says, good morning. And McGape is from upper central Montana. That is awesome. You guys are from around a lot of places. Tim Fox says, good morning, Darwin and Melanie. Greetings from Mesa. Good to see you both today. I've missed a few weeks, so it's great to see you all doing so well. Aw, thank you. Mike says will you be utilizing your metal frame with mesh panels or doing a dome Gaia style dome?
Okay, so we're gonna do both. We're gonna be using the metal frames, and if you guys look at that video from foundation to roof, we're gonna be making metal frames that are 22.5 inches wide and 4 inches thick, and we just, as a temporary thing, put fiberglass insulation in the roof, just so we had it's kind of like a stocking cap on our house. It allowed the rocket stove, even without insulation on the walls. And if you look at some of our videos with the thermal camera and whatnot, you can see that the roof was insulated, and that allowed us to stay in our house and whatnot. But it was just for temporary. So we're going to make some panels that are 22.5 inches wide, and they'll fit, and they're 4 inches thick, and they'll fit right in the roof area, and it'll leave a 2-inch gap for venting going up. And so what that's going to allow is the same thing that I did on Grandpa's shed, right? We put a gap between the roof and whatnot on Grandpa's shed, and when the sun hits the roof and it gets hot, it flues up automatically, and my gosh, it works so good. You didn't even need air conditioning in the summer. And so we're going to do that in the roof, but then we're going to pour it in place in the walls with a pumping system. And so that is going to be pretty dynamic, and it's going to be fluid, and I'm not sure exactly how everything's going to work, but it will work, because I just kind of live by the seat of my pants, and I solve problems as we go. One thing I did want to mention to you guys is I would encourage anyone that really wanted to look into getting some property, either up here or wherever you're at, and just take the steps forward to start moving in that direction. It's just, from our experience, it just seems like whenever we need something, God provides it. For whatever reason, it's a biblical thing. If you just start taking the steps forward and start moving forward, it's just everything you need is provided. And we've been so blessed. We just went down this past week, and we just got a trailer load of just stuff that we needed that just showed up,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. And as the climate out there Melanie's so excited about her plants, and the different plants that we have growing just in the window up in our house. She has tons of tomato plants and pepper plants and onions and everything else that we're going to transplant into the garden, that she started way back in you started in like February, right? And it's a learning curve, but as the climate out there and as people are eating all this processed food and stuff and how it affects their health, people are going to be moving more toward being a little more self-sufficient and growing their own food and whatnot. And that's kind of what we're moving toward. And so there's going to be a lot of not just Aircrete stuff when we have that class, but you'll get to see a lot of the infrastructure stuff and how I develop the springs. And then on other people's property that I've been helping, I've done solar pumping systems where we two-staged it up a mountain. And that is a very dynamic thing because you can buy property really cheap because it has a because it doesn't have water on it. But there are ways to get around it and make that property worth a lot more, like 10 times more than what you buy it for.
If it has water.
If it has water. And there are ways of getting water to places that have traditionally in the past been hard to get water for. And that's kind of my background in the geotech engineering thing is, looking at water mitigation and springs and moving them around and developing springs. Oh, there's the airplane flying by. It's awesome. And so there's going to be a lot of different information when we have that class about homesteading and building and how all the infrastructure and everything comes together. And I think it'll bring it just that much closer to people because they'll be able to go, wow, I could do just a small little cabin and set up these water systems and these solar systems and these micro hydro systems and get something going. And it's just exciting to us.
Jeff says hi and could hire me as a teacher for the workshop.
Yeah.
He says hit the thumbs up button. Yes, everyone give us a thumbs up. Thank you. The Ascending Angel says, where are they at? That is freaking beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't that amazing? We're in North Idaho.
Right.
Yes.
We're up in the kind of the base of the Bitterroot Mountains in North Idaho. You have the Rocky Mountain Range and the Bitterroot Range that kind of come together, and you have these Clearwater River drainages. We're right by where the Middle Fork and the South Fork and the North Fork all come together. And then about 80 miles down the river is where the Columbia River starts. The Clearwater River and the Snake River and the Salmon River all meet, and that's kind of the beginning of the Columbia, the gorge, going down through Washington and Oregon and clear to the ocean.
Yeah, so this is Idaho. Isn't that crazy? He goes, what? That is Idaho? Yes. And you should come see it for yourself because honestly, the cameras do not do it justice.
No.
It is amazing in real life. Amazing.
I wish we had our daughter's camera, but she's, 18. She's in that transition period. She's getting ready to move out, and so we're without her right now.
It's a state in the USA, yes. Man, that just makes me think of all the other states are what they really look like. That is wild to me. Thank you. When I thought of Idaho, that is not what I pictured. All right? That is amazing. Oh, it is amazing, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, I love to come out here and just sit and drink a cup of coffee in the morning. It is amazing. Yeah, and I sat here looking at my tulips and sat on that rock right there and had a cup of coffee. It was one of the best mornings ever. Eric says hi. And get any Aircrete poured? Not yet. We went on a trip down, took our daughter down to stay with her aunt for a while, picked up some stuff, and came back and now we're going to get to work, right?
Right. Yeah. And I got to have a real in-depth conversation with Dirk. Dirk is a guy who has been building rocket stoves for like 30 years, and he's been really instrumental in doing some testing and whatnot, and giving me some ideas of different tests that I can do, and it's been pretty amazing. And so I'm really thrilled that we just have so many people, you know, in Idaho and around us and everything that are interested in the stuff that we're doing. And so anyways, we do have
We are planning on pouring Aircrete here soon, though, Jeff. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a few rocket stoves that we're working on getting finished up and whatnot for different people, and I mean it's looking like we're gonna start pouring the Aircrete the 1st of May and start doing a bunch of testing and whatnot, and I want to get everything set up for our or
It's
at the
May.
end of May, I mean, and I want to get everything kind of set up and get some things poured and get some stuff going, so that toward the end of June or the 3rd week in June sometime is when we're thinking about having the class, that everything is kind of set up and in place so that we can do these instructional videos. I carved out a place in the mountain, a flat spot, where we're going to put up a greenhouse, and we're going to do a solar mount system for the power in our house that also is a greenhouse as well. And I really want to start getting into some of these drip irrigation, where we use our water from our laundry and whatnot to go down and drip irrigate trees and do some hydroponic stuff. And you know, we have a friend up in Washington who is really deep into this hydroponic stuff, and I'm going to try and get as many people, like Jeff said he could teach a class, and Kenny Beans, I would really like to get him down here and maybe teach it. Oh, look at the raptors.
Yep.
Yeah, we lost a couple of our little chickens to raptors while we were gone for a few days. Ooh, they're diving.
All right. You are beautiful people, such great hearts. Thank you so much. Jeff is wondering what the workshop will... Hey, Alice, move. What will the workshop cover and the training materials made yet? We have not have that all figured out. That's something we still are working on.
But we do have a lot of it in place, because here's the deal, guys. As far as I had a lot of background with cement and cement additives and whatnot, and I was actually, you know, certified in concrete mix designs and whatnot, and I was just one of those people that I took off with Aircrete, and I had one or two little failures in the beginning, but I was able to solve it really quickly. And so we do have some of the curriculum set out where I can show people how to do Aircrete without ever having to worry about it collapse and whatnot. And regardless of your water, whether you're using city water, they put a lot of additives in city water, you know, the fluorides and stuff that make it kind of acidic, and chlorine and whatnot. And there are ways to treat that water and take some mitigating measures so that it makes foam that is really, really dense, and it stands the test of time, so that it gives your Portland cement time to set up, and you just don't have those collapsing issues. And that's one of the main things we're gonna show people, is how they can make this Aircrete and make it so that it's strong and it's not going to collapse on them.
Right. I could make Fusion 360 designs and help design training guides. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll keep that in mind, Jeff. Thank you so much. All right, is there any other questions before we go? Give him a minute to ask a question, and then we'll go. Hey, Alice, put up in the camera, girl. Put up in the camera. Come here. You guys want to say hi to Alice?
Want to say hi to Alice?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's our Australian Shepherd, and she watches out for all of our animals. We took her with her for the past 4 days, but she keeps she watches over the chickens and everything, and keeps the raptors at bay. We call them raptors because we have a lot of gold eagles and predators that fly in the sky and will take your animals out if you don't have something.
Right.
Keep
All
them
right.
at bay.
The Ascending Ancient says, what is a good resource to bring springs to the land if there's no water on the land?
So, that is one of the things I'm going to go through in the class and why we chose this particular piece of property. We looked at it from a satellite view, and I was able to kind of determine exactly where water was flowing under the ground and whatnot. And then once we got up here, we had these awesome neighbors, and one of them, their son was a water witcher, and he came over, and I had a sneaking suspicion exactly where the water was, and it ended up being really close, and he water witched it, and I was able to dig out the area and create a spring that, it fills our ponds and everything. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to go over is if you are ever looking at something, choose a piece of property. And even if you do make a mistake and choose a piece of property that doesn't have any water, you still may be able to drill a well and stair step solar power, pump water up to your property and whatnot. And obviously we have great examples of me helping people do that right here in this area.
Yeah.
And so part of the class will take a whole day and go over to some other properties where I helped other people get water on properties that have sat with no water for over a quarter century, where people thought that they were going to develop this, and they built a place up on it, and then they tried drilling wells and they were all dry, and then I was able to help them know exactly where to drill a well to get some water and stair step, and solar power, you're kind of limited. You can't pump as far and as high, and so sometimes you have to stair step it. But you can take a piece of property that's basically grazing land prices, and if you can get water onto it, all of a sudden it's worth 10 times as much. And it's
Right.
And so that's one of the things. And we try to use the lay of our land and where we chose to put our house and everything else, and we trust in God a lot. We kind of chose where to put our house based on a rainbow that fell.
We had a couple different choices, but when that hit, we're like,
yeah, that's the best place.
yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think think of. Is there any other questions?
Nope. All right. Well, then you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
All right. Love you guys.